Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode, we will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equity, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders. Black Business Matters podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer marketing and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. I'm Larvetta Lofton, your host and founder of the L3 Agency. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. We're so excited to bring this dynamic woman impact leader in the marketing space. And so, for many of you all, you know that I run a marketing and communications firm out of Chicago. And anytime I can get some of my amazing marketers to the table to really discuss things that we haven't been able to talk about, and that is about impact. That's about diversity. This woman is what I say, she is a disruptor in what she is doing because she's, young and enterprising, and her energy is just parallel. So I'm so excited to bring her on today because she is leading and building up a diversity strategy package. But before I dig into that, she is the Associate Director and Diversity Strategy Practice at WRAP. And WRAP is a major marketing company, and they have offices all over the world, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes, all over the world. So the fact that we get to have her here to just share some insights and her journey from really going into this, kind of like traditional kind of broadcasters and really in a space that is delivering on impact. And one of the things that I wanted to talk through is the work that she has been able to do at WRAP. She is a social impact influencer, and she's impacted both the business and cultures of ABC Disney Television Group, Discovery Communications, IPG, and Omnicom agencies. In 2020, which was last year, she was awarded the Fierce Individual Award at WRAP. She also was the AAF Dallas 2020 Suits Award for Young Professional of the Year and 2020 at Dallas 32 under 32 award. All that was in 2020. And did y'all know that was the pandemic? So
I know.
So you were winning when we were just uncertain about what was going on. And so to know that you were acknowledged and for the work that you're doing in a time that we all just really didn't know what the world was going to look like. How did that feel for you?
It was a culture shock because, to your point, I was pulling in all of the harvests that I planted in 2019. It was coming to fruition in 2020 in the midst of the world just breaking down and opening up. So that mental gymnastics that I had to do to, yes, I want to celebrate my accomplishments. This is bringing me so much joy. But also in Texas, the pandemic actually hit, like stuff started to shut down on my 30th birthday. So dealing with all of that and trying to put the pieces together, trying to be in a healthy place for myself, my family, while celebrating, it was a lot to take in and really try to understand, can I be happy during this moment, or do I really need to be kind of sad because there's just so much going on in the world right now that's outside of my own control.
Wow. Enlightening, just even reflecting, I'm sure right now at this moment, like, wow, in the midst and being acknowledged. Well, welcome, Kyla. Welcome to Black Businesses Podcast. We're so excited to have you, and we're just going to dive right on in. I really want to talk about, now, how long have you been in this role at WRAP?
I've been at WRAP for 3 years, but specifically in this role that I created for the company, it's been a good 10 months. And as I was preparing, just to like have a conversation with you today, I realized, Larvetta, that I really haven't spoke about what I am doing within this practice. I haven't done the best job of amplifying it on LinkedIn, because I really have been in an innovation lab of just making sure that there is an actual foundation that we can start talking to and building from. So you're getting an exclusive today, and I'm really honored that it is you that I get to share my story with.
Well, I'm just going to say for those that are tuning in, you're getting an exclusive. We're the first Black Businesses Matter podcast to hear Kyla Jones' story and the work that she's doing as an impact leader. And I feel privileged and blessed that you gave us an opportunity to really share with the world. But more importantly, is that we get to come together and collaborate in this way to be able to do that. And that is, my biggest, I think, joy is when I'm able to collaborate and really build on this message of Black businesses matter. And so I want to talk about you, and even in this role of how is your experience with working with Black businesses? Because I've talked to you before, I consider you an intrapreneur. And for those of you all that are listening, this word just came about several years ago because there were people that were advocating for me in the business. And I was like, you're an entrepreneur. Like, I need you. Like, we need you inside. And so these are individuals like you, Kyla, that are inside advocating, fighting for Black businesses to be a part of a larger campaign or a larger RFP or larger collaboration. And so I really want to talk about your experience as an entrepreneur and helping minority businesses in this space of marketing.
When you told me that term, it opened up something in me. I didn't look at myself as an entrepreneur. I just thought I was doing a job that came with systemic change. Yes, that's a big deal. But you're right. How I navigate within the organization of RAP that also sits under Omnicom, I'm creating new pathways that didn't exist before me and historically. And a large part of what I do is, while we're building this practice, we're also building a pipeline for talent development for that next generation. But I also get an opportunity to go to the C-suite and say, there's a Black business like an L3, there's a Black business like a Marcus Graham project that is investing in Black talent, Black voices, Black opportunities. And since we have a commitment to support those diversity suppliers or to support that community, these are the people that you should be working with. And I don't take it lightly. Sometimes it feels a little surreal when I'm going to a CEO of the company or going to the chief, global human resource officer and saying, here's a business that you need to look into, or here's a partnership that you need to consider. It's weighty conversations, but I think since I've been doing it more frequently, it's starting to come with more ease and audacity, because there's a level of trust and influence that they look to me for when I'm presenting them different opportunities to work with Black businesses.
I mean, that's a powerful role. And when I think of it, when I sit here and we talked and you just said you were just in this role for 10 months, that alone says you are an entrepreneur. You carved out an area for yourself to make an impact and to connect businesses, to connect brands, and to connect people and give them access is powerful. And that's the tool that I think is missing that, I think, when I think of entrepreneurs, yes, entrepreneurs are amazing and, are doing amazing things. And so when I think of entrepreneurs, they are amazing because they're able to advance that business, right? To be able to, and you said it, hire more Black people, right? And so we've always said that, and I've always said this, Black businesses are the largest employers of Black people. That's a fact.
Yes.
And so when we're able to bring them together, we really do make an impact. And I want to say service-based businesses. Obviously, we're talking about marketing. You see small businesses. What do they need more of? And I know for us, we're leading on this being culturally sensitive and really understanding what that means. But I want to know for you, you're in this seat, you're at this, company that is all over the world, right? So it's just not in US. So you're seeing trends on the other side as well as in the US. What can you see that you see right now that, businesses need to do more of, namely our minority businesses?
Disability, inclusion, and accessibility. If you follow me on LinkedIn, if you're new to following me, you're going to hear me really advocate and be an activist in this space. No one is doing enough when it comes to the community of disabilities and mobility. This community has been marginalized all of their lives, and we actually have the tools, the resources, and the pathways to bring greater access to that community. So if you're a small business, where in your business model can you remove some of the barriers so a consumer with disability has greater ease to interact and engage with your service or your product? If you're a company, marketing, advertising, whatever that looks like, are you employing people with disabilities? Do you have the right infrastructure to support their growth and development? When you're working with clients, what do those conversations look like? And I always find it interesting when we are having this disability inclusion and accessibility conversation with our clients. This is a new language and tone for them. And the conversations will often end in silence because a lot of clients don't know what to do. So if you're an expert in this, or if you have some knowledge, some insight, maybe you're already in this community, we need your voice. We need your support. There's a strong rally cry for these people to be heard. And it's important for every brand, every business, every company. It doesn't matter how much you make in a year, you're not doing enough to support this community.
That's incredible. That just gave me chills, Kyla, because, for me personally, I have had the pleasure to collaborate with a business that the founder is disabled and he is unable to walk. And so he really, about 4 years ago, really talked about this. And to your point, and he was speaking on behalf of those that just felt like they've been muted. And here you are speaking to it and making it very prominent right now that businesses, even small businesses, need to pay attention to that. So, I think that's a powerful thing. And so was there firsthand for you, Kyla, why this particular area of action needed to be at the forefront? Was there something that you experienced within your own personal life or professional life where you felt like, brands, we are not really being authentic and culturally sensitive, So what was the spark for you?
I haven't had this conversation yet, but again, this is a safe space, so I'll be transparent. I started building out a co-creation panel for a study because when I was working with an auto brand client, I realized in their personas, their marketing personas, heavy quotations over here, that there wasn't anyone representing that community. And there was also a lack of multiculturalism, but we can talk about that another day. But I remember asking the strategist on the team saying, hey, are we pulling any research on disability? Are we aware of the percentage within that audience base that is suffering or dealing with a disability? And just like how you hear right now, there was silence. Nobody had the answer. And I've always been that curious child that if I don't know something, I'm either going to ask. And if you don't have the answer, I'm going to go ask other people and find out. So at the beginning of this year, I started this study and I connected with the Omnicom ERG Open Disability Shout out to all of my people that sit on that board. I love them dearly because they've held me down during this entire study. Storm Smith to be one, Veronica Appleton another.
Oh, Veronica Appleton. Oh my gosh.
Yes, yes.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, so I started building the study at the beginning of the year. I was interviewing people, I was having focus groups. People were sharing their real, raw, and honest experiences of what it looks like to engage with a brand, specifically an auto brand. And it started to weigh on me. I am an empath, I'm a highly sensitive person. So I take in a lot of emotions and what those people are feeling. I'm working through it in terms of my boundaries, but that's just where I am today. And at the top of the summer, when there was a lot of movement for me, there was a lot of change in my life personally, I had to have an honest conversation with myself about my mental health because it was showing up in different ways in my personal relationships. There was a pattern that was occurring, and I didn't like that pattern. The anxiety within my body started to build up a little bit more. So I think because I had the support of this community already, I was coming at it from an ally. I was saying, hey, I'm an ally. I want to amplify the voices, the needs, the motivations, the raw, dirty truth. Like, tell me, what is it? I'll be that lighthouse, shine a light on it, and we will have a rally cry together. We'll amplify together. What I didn't know, Larvetta, was that coming in as an ally would only put me in front of really being in this community and acknowledging, yes, I am on the spectrum of neurodiversity. That is me. That is a part of my identity. And because I saw so many other people embrace their own identities, one person was paralyzed from the neck down and had so much joy. Someone identified with their own mental health. So there were so many identities coming at me that when it came time for me to embrace my own, yes, there was a moment of shock, like, oh, snap, I have to change so much in my life. But I now have a community where I can feel safe and supported to talk about it and get the tools and the services to really help me thrive from here on out.
Wow.
Yeah, God is good. I will tell you that, because that was a plot twist for
And
me. I wasn't expecting that at all. But the way that he brought me through and the study is like hands down, I got to give it up to God.
And, it's crazy because as I prepare for this podcast and, the people that come through here, I had to make sure that people understand we're going to bring faith leaders. And I teeter tatter with her, but I can't do what I do without his faith, right? I can't. And I realized that for many of us, and I think that who serve in these roles, who are shifting narratives, who are advocating for marginalized communities, we're grounded in faith. We are, because it is such a fight. And if you're not, you will lose your mind, literally, right?
Yes.
And so having an opportunity that where you can be safe and be safe in your faith too, right? Because sometimes we feel like we are unable to say that. We're unable to talk about that because, someone could be offended or some people won't feel comfortable. But I've learned that in the rooms, you have to make people feel uncomfortable when we're dealing with culturally sensitive topics. You have to be uncomfortable. We can't say, oh, well, I'm supposed to say this and then, and go from there. And I think we've been able to do that so well because of what code switching, right? Black women would, we can code switch. We can literally pull it together.
Oh, yeah.
Put on the blue suit, do whatever we have to do. And then, the evenings we choose, hey, I'm going to put on my stilettos and my red lipstick and I'm coming out tonight. So we haven't been given, and I say this all the time, even personally, permission to be able to say, hey, inside of this dope Black leader is this amazing, thoughtful, fun, adventurous, love people person. But you somewhat shut that out. And it happens. And so when I was listening to you, it just brought literally my whole body. I just got chills because number one is I can speak and say that is so genuine, it's so thoughtful. And just the fact that you get to be able to lead a diversity practice that is genuine. I mean, and I do say that, D&I is the word, right? We know that. We understand that. But when it is one that says, I'm part of it, like I'm part of the conversation and I'm not just a Black girl, right? I'm part of the conversation beyond just what you see when you look at me. The reason why it's interesting, Kyla, we did a pitch a few years ago and in the space of disability for organization in Chicago. And I would tell you something, I struggled because I said, are we going to be accepted? Because, we are not presenting that way. But at the same time, though, I had an uncle that had a disability. My brother is dyslexic. So I had this. And the reason why the organization was so intrigued was that they wanted to work with people that says you can't look at your disability. Like you can't look at a person and say, yeah, no, that they have something that, of course, from an abilities labs is that they have the ability to do it, but don't look at them based on that. So they really wanted to build a campaign of those that have things that were not visible, right? They have disabilities that when you look at them, because Kyla, when I look at you, I don't see that. And so they
exactly
wanted to stress that. And it's crazy because that's what they were leading to. So you are leading and being a disruptor. I know you bring these disruptors to the table, but I think in order for you to bring disruptors to the table, you have to be the disruptor.
Amen. Drop the mic, period.
You have to be the disruptor. And that's a heavy pledge.
Oh yes. That's a heavy mantle to carry. And it will come with imposter syndrome just naturally. And that's okay. But you have to own that part of who you are, of being a disruptor, of being a professional troublemaker, like my cousin, not really cousin, but probably my cousin, Lovey Jones.
I know she's everybody's cousin, right?
Yes. I've read her book and I'm just like, yo, that's me. Like I am a professional troublemaker. I am creating an open space that's a safe space that is making clients, predominantly white, uncomfortable. But it's all for the sake of moving the needle on inclusion. And what you were speaking to earlier, Lorvetto, is intersectionality. You're right. If someone was to look at me today, they would think that, okay, she's just a Black woman.
And a beautiful, smart one too, right?
So thank you. But like, there's so many more layers to me. There's so many more layers to you. There's so many more layers to us all as humans. And a part of the diversity strategy practice is having these uncomfortable conversations with the clients where it's not just about multiculturalism, like race and ethnicity. You should have been doing that 10, 15 years ago. What you have to start doing today is how are people thinking and learning differently? How are you building strategies around that? Again, disability inclusion and accessibility. What are you doing to answer that rally cry? What about the trauma that we're all collectively going through? How are you going to innovate your services in order to match that need within the next 5 years? We're not going back to where we were pre-pandemic. We're in a new space that to me is exciting as a disruptor, and probably to you too, because we're getting an opportunity to develop new skills, new services, new tools, and a new level of consciousness that allows us to look at one another and really embrace the multiple layers that come with us as human beings. We do not have to hide who we are truly in this world. And it's been so liberating going through this pandemic, and definitely this year, where I can start shedding off some of that code switching and, the mask, like, oh, my hair has to be a certain type of way and, in a natural style. Like I have to let my curls show through. No, today, baby girl, I'm gonna show up with my head wrap and we gonna handle business. Like it's okay to be you and to bring all of you to the table. And if your company, if your brand, wherever you are, if they're not supporting that, there are places that are starting to put in policies that are allowing people to bring their whole selves virtually or into the actual workplace, so they can really feel supported to just do their job and not have to worry about hiding any parts of themselves.
And it's interesting, Kyla, because while I sit here, do we believe that this is not going to be a pill we take because of what we've experienced? That brands are just going to say, oh, let's take this pill and it'll be all, it'll be okay in 6 months. It'll be fine in the next year. Or are we really making this a real lifestyle change? Because we know lifestyle changes takes work. It's not something that, but we know that you put a pill on that's going to slim your body, right? You put a pill on, it's going to make you feel better. Do you see brands really wanting to make that lifetime commitment to these communities, or are we still in the, giving out the pill, putting the picture there to say, we do this, doing a shoot with all, Black people? Do you really see that there will be a major cultural shift, hopefully in the, in the next 5 or 10 years? Do you really see that in the seat that you are in?
I believe so. Because, I have this question often as I'm going through this work. I'm like, am I really making a difference? Are the clients really hearing what I'm saying? Are they going to take the strategic recommendations that we're putting on the table to really help them increase their own bottom line and increase their market share and open up a new target audience, that will support their business? Are they really going to do the hard work? Because with creating inclusion and amplifying diversity, you have to dismantle old systems that marginalize those communities that you now want to show up for. And diversity and inclusion has become a tagline. I was in Cracker Barrel like a month ago, and no shade to Cracker Barrel, because I love their pancakes and I love their syrup. Like, I will take a syrup bottle home with me every time. But they had a sign that said, we're hiring. If you're looking to be a part of a diverse team, fill out your application. Sure, the team is diverse, but when you step in Cracker Barrel,
Yes.
there is colonialism all over the wall.
Exactly.
And I bring that up because this isn't just going to be a pill that brands can take and then next year forget that they even made this commitment. And I think a report came out that actually showed the brands that made the commitments, the financial commitments, how much money they actually put into that and that output, right? And what we're seeing with the Gen Z, the next generation, that cancel culture isn't going to go anywhere. We are hyper aware. We are hypersensitive, and we are at the door waiting for a brand to misstep or mess up. Look at the conversation that's happening around Dave Chappelle and the LGBTQIA+ community.
Yep.
So if you're doing something today that's performative in diversity, shame on you, because in 5 years, 10 years, you may be like Blockbuster. You legit may be a dinosaur, because the next generation is going to pull your receipts and say, in 2020, 2021, you made a commitment of X billion dollars. You have done nothing since then. So we are going to take our money from you and we're going to put it in a small business or into another brand that actually cares about our customer experience and actually supporting the communities that I represent.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we did an intergenerational study about 6 years ago, and at the time I had a Gen X, Gen Z, we didn't have baby boomer, we had millennial, and just we recorded it because what we were attempting to do was present this to brands to really get into understanding these very different generations and not putting, right, we all Black women, we all do this, right? And really understanding how different we really are in our own generations, but don't label us, because labeling to me in a lot of ways is also very divisive. And so when we do that, we don't really create a very collaborative opportunity. we know that even as our friends, right? Our friends are different. You got some friends that's always late. You got some friends that's always on time. You got some friends that's like, I want to give you $21.22. And you got some friends, hey, I'm gonna put $25, right? But we don't label them. We include them to know that that's just what they are, but they can still belong at this table and we all can have a good time and we all can enjoy each other. But I don't have to put the label that she's always late or he's always late. He'll never be anything or he'll never amount to this. And that's where labeling sometimes comes. And so when we did that generational thing, it was insightful because that was what, to your point, Gen Z says, well, I pull people's coattail all the time. You said on this, but you don't do this, and it's so bold and courageous that they're able to do it. And I love it because I have some that work on my team and I love when they can call me out. No, you said, and you're like, oh shoot, I did. And hold me accountable for it, because I do believe that accountability is important. The thing that I want to also bring, because as people, as small businesses, and understanding this, I want to ask this question. And I ask this question because I really believe that we all can take a little bit of everything and really build and expand our business. And I ask these favorite tips to help small business owners. And of course, I want to ask you this, but I find very interesting that the things that you hope will share is not the traditional, what you said, the old way, because marketing was like the 4 Ps, right? And that was what we said. But it's like there's this new way of looking at marketing in such a different way. And so I want you to share with the audience on those 3 tips that you believe are important today.
And you kind of already touched on one with the intergenerational research study that you were doing, but it's so important to engage those subject matter experts. We're not supposed to know everything about every market, every target. Yes, we need to have, a general foundation of their needs, their wants, and their motivations. But when you actually get their voice notes, their receipts, and you're asking them, how can we better serve you? Do our products really work for you? It's co-creation. It's that collaboration. And we all have our own respective biases and blind spots. And when you're bringing in people that are those subject matter experts, it allows you to just open up that space in your mind and look at them differently and see what else you can bring to your own business that better supports them. So that would definitely be number one. The second one is around that next generation and how we have to employ them and empower them. And I love the Gen Z and the I Alpha, which is the one after that. And they have so much raw experience that can be used for any small business, like that digital side, the more creative side. Like, do you have a TikTok? If you don't, bring in a Gen Z, let them help you. But hire them as interns, hire them as those freelancers, get them in your business, because that one allows you to pull insights from that generation, from their thought perspectives. But also that's a succession plan for your small business. You're creating a pipeline for them to exist, for them to grow, to develop. So anything that you can outsource, whether it's, digital, creative, administrative, anything, give them a chance. Because especially with the hiring going on right now, a lot of students are being marginalized and having to step outside of their traditional major and, pick up new skill sets. So bringing them into your small business would be very advantageous. And I know, Larvetta, that's something that you've done before as well.
Mm-hmm. I live by that. I believe in that. Many of my colleagues talk about me. You know how to bring that generation. But for me, it's really, they are smart. They are brilliant. They are better at things that I'm not. And I'm old sometimes and used up in some areas. And I'm okay with that. Because the reality of it all is when we all collaborate, right, we're able to deliver on something extremely impactful, and it's a diverse team. a real diverse team, right? That isn't based on skin color. And I think that's the problem that people make. And it's thoughtful, because one of the things we say within our organization is that we are diverse in thought. I
Yes.
don't necessarily vibe the same way as and when you have these different generations, they are diverse in thought. And that to me is powerful. And I believe that it is important to bring them to the table, because they may have a completely different view. And you're like, what? But embrace it in that space, because here's what happens. We all know this. The Steve Jobs of the world and all of these major people came to the table, and probably people thought of them as, oh, you're crazy, right? Oh my gosh, you're crazy. And then they end up being, a multi-billion-dollar business and mogul. So that's one of the reasons why I say this. I could literally have them working for me, and next thing I know, I turn around and they're on the Forbes list, or on the intrapreneur.com, or they are, in front of the AMAs or the Grammys or what have you, because they've chosen to say, hey, someone gave me a chance and I'm able to do that. So I don't take that lightly. And I hope that more businesses and organizations will see the value in that. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And then your final one.
Yes. The final tip, something we spoke about before too, is take your mental health and your mental wellness important. As that small business owner, there's a lot that you're carrying. There's a lot that you're thinking through. My brain will just strategize on its own of, how I can create, different conversations, or, how I should put a presentation together. Like, my brain is always running at max speed, and I've had to learn how to just like sit in stillness and in silence, and embrace kind of that open space within myself where there's really nothing going on. And when you're thinking about that small business owner, it's not just that business, it's them as an individual, it's them within the family structure, it's them within, their community, the society. So if you're running a business, if you're building a business, if you're working in a small business, take your mental wellness and mental health very seriously, because it's only you, and you only have one brain that is powering everything. And just like we have to shut down our computers or our devices at times, so we have to do that with our own bodies, our own minds, just so we can get that nourishment and fill up ourselves before we have to go back out into the world and share our goodness, share our gifts, share our innovations for the sake of change and creating generational wealth within our family and communities.
Oh my gosh, Kyla, I haven't heard that in the way that you've delivered for small business, at the way we've heard, all the things that we know. Go get this, go get it, make sure you have this, make sure you have an attorney, like you really got to the part that I think is how you're able to scale and advance, how you get to thrive.
Yes.
And I think we don't talk enough about that. And this is why I failed to mention, like, the fact that, the other side of you, and I'm not even at the other side, but because I know that we all serve many hats, and you are the empowerment and movement specialist at the Miss Jones experience, and experience is an X without the E. Really talking it. And when I think of movement specialist, what is that? Because to me, I love to dance, Kyla. And if I could literally be a real dancer for a real, make money, I would do that, because it just makes me feel good inside. So
Yeah.
tell me what that is. And you've been doing this work for such a long time prior to joining RAP and making an impact in your community. So tell me, what does movement specialist, what is that?
It's dancing. It's moving. Yeah, it's moving your body in a way that opens up the space, that is that medicine that you can receive. Our bodies and our brains are so powerful. I don't think we give enough attention to it. And the beauty about moving your body in a different way, whether it's like Afro beats or reggaeton, or even like jazz, classical, it tells your body and your mind that you are safe. You are a vessel of goodness, of abundance, of light, of worthiness. All of that is what I bring into the space when I'm creating movement experiences. And yes, there's no E on experience, because we're creating the intersection of career, life, personal, professional. Again, bring everything that you are into the space and let's just move around. Let's just have a conversation about it. And I love to dance. I'm a certified Zumba instructor for both children and adults. I really love to focus on the children, getting them to move around. Like I have the most fun when we get to pretend to be like an elephant or a snake or a shark or a monkey, a bunny. Like I love seeing that joy with kids just moving and getting to really see their body just move in different ways. So that is one aspect of the Miss Jones experience. The other half of the house is around empowerment for the next generation. And yet this is something that I've been doing for the last 10 years. It is very important to me that every step of my journey, anytime I make it to the top of the mountain, coming out of my valley experiences that are divinely protected, that I'm going to share my experience. I'm going to package it and I'm going to amplify it with that next generation so they can have the support that they need to be disruptors, thought leaders, innovators, change makers, whatever they want to be, and have those tools to overcome the barriers that are still in place, but also have the audacity to be who they are, speak up on a cause that they believe in, and take the necessary action that they want to see in this world.
Mhm.
Yeah, and all of that comes with career development, life skills, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And I've missed it. I've put the Miss Jones experience on hold for the last 2 years just to get my own self settled. But I do believe that I'm really in a good, healthy place now to put it back out into the world, even though it really didn't go anywhere. I just kind of turned off the lights a little bit and was like, I'll be back. But I'm excited to step back out there with the Miss Jones experience. So we are looking to bring some experiences in Dallas, working with children. So being that movement specialist, looking for any universities or colleges that need this type of thought leadership content, that need this type of energy in their virtual rooms, in their classrooms. So I'm excited. And I think I'm also doing something in Hawaii in April with children. So it's all happening and I'm receiving my harvest, Larbetta. I'm fully receiving it.
What did I say? We're thriving
Yeah.
beyond the pandemic. And that's what we want to highlight. We don't want, the struggle is real, but we don't have to keep talking about the struggle. We can be
Yes.
thriving in the harvest that, God has set up, but we've also planted seeds to have harvest, right? You've been planting them. And which is why I want to make sure people know how to get in contact with you for those that, are looking for that level of engagement, because I do believe what you're doing, both, as they say, in the building and outside of the building as an intrapreneur, meaning inside of rap and outside of rap, is all the same. It's all the same, right?
It is.
Just you're using your gift to be able to impact brands, and then you're taking those gifts and impacting your community, which is dynamite. And that's why you are impact leader. So if you want to follow Kyla, or you want to connect with her more around Miss Jones experience, you can find her on LinkedIn at Meet Miss Jones. And obviously, she is an impact leader at RAP. And, I've had the pleasure to be connected to her and super duper excited to be able to work as an ally with her. And hopefully we'll get to collaborate on some other things. The other thing I like to just really talk and close, because you've said it so much. So I know that folks have already heard it, but I want to make sure that it's very prominent and clear, is what brings you joy, Kyla?
I love this question. What brings me joy is being able to share my gift with others, just shining that light on someone who feels alone, hidden, marginalized, and empowering them to do their best, to live out their greatness. That is my gift. That is my anointing. I'm learning how to embrace it more and bring it forward in everything that I do. Regardless if it's in the boardroom or in the community, that this is me. And the more joy that I receive in my vessel, the more I just want to be able to share it with the world. And it's an honor, honestly. So Black joy is a currency. I know that the media is profiting off of the Black pain and Black struggle.
Yes, Kyla, oh my God. I can't stand it. No, we are joyful. Like,
yes, like look at the crate challenge, like something so, and I know so many people have opinions about that, but effortless joy. Black joy is a currency. We no longer need permission from anybody in order to express our joy. And there are so many platforms, there's so many new conversations happening. Bring your Black joy everywhere you go. I know the world is telling us that we need to be sad, we need to be separated, we only need to look at our struggle and pain. I'm not advocating for us to disassociate from the current reality. What I am advocating for is for us to further amplify our Black joy, because it is making a difference, specifically in children's lives. Because what they are seeing right now is devastation, and what we can really bring to them is hope, resilience, and survival that our people, our Black people, our ancestors have divine rights to. We need more Black joy in this world, and it should not be marginalized to February. Black joy is 365, 24/7. Own it, embrace it, cultivate it, share it.
I'm just going to say this. The world needs to know Miss Kyla Jones, because you just dropped the mic on that. Black joy is a currency. And which is why, for us, it's, we say relationships are our currency, right? As an organization, as a company. And so when you bring that up, it literally says it's okay to say, I'm living a joyful life. I don't have to say, I am in this pain and I can't come out, and so having the ability to hear how we triumph, and the fact that you said, hey, I took a pause, and but your light was still bright, right? You took a pause because you wanted to make sure that the light stayed bright. And that's what we have to understand, is that when we're doing this impact work, in order for us to keep the light bright, we've got to take that pause and reset and be able to do that. Kyla, this was like so much joy, which I knew it was, and so much fun, because you are a light and you are an impact leader. And I'm grateful and just privileged that we had the opportunity to connect and meet. And more importantly, we get to share you on this podcast and be able to make sure people get to know you and connect with you and celebrate you and honor you for the work that you are doing, both inside the boardroom and in your community. So if you guys are listening in, make sure you connect with Kyla and subscribe to more episodes. We promise we will continue to bring you thoughtful conversations that really help to grow in this space of Black businesses that are thriving. And the fact that Kyla dropped the mic on that, on Black joy is currency. I hope that you can walk away and know that don't hide the joy that you have as a Black person, a Black leader, a Black entrepreneur, a Black parent, a Black mother, a Black father, and walk with that, because there is so much power in that. And Kyla, I just right now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that right there just put a fire in me. So thank you so much. What's next for you at Wrap? Anything that we should be looking out that's launching, that any brands that we need to look out and say, oh, that's a Kyla Jones effect? How about that? On that, anything at Wrap that you're launching in the organization that we should look out for?
I don't think I can talk about it at this point.
And I'm glad you said that, because that says you just got to connect with her so that you can.
Yes.
Said that because that means that you are building on something really impactful, and people need to connect with you and be able to do that. And if there's opportunities, definitely connect with Kyla. Thank you for tuning in and listening to us during this podcast on Black businesses. And we are so excited about our next episode. So please tune in and subscribe to our podcast. Thank you so much, Kyla, for your insight today, for this interview, and best wishes. And God bless you for all that you do. Thank you so much. This show is brought to you by Chicago Trend. Chicago Trend catalyzes, accelerates, and finances strategic retail development to drive neighborhood transformation. If you would like to support this featured business and help them achieve their dreams, please visit chicagotrend.com. chicagotrend.com. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining us this week on Black Businesses Matter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you will never miss a show. You can also follow us on social media at the L3 Agency and at Larvetta Speaks. If you love the show, leave a rating so that we can continue to bring you impactful episodes. You can also take the pledge and order our merch at our website at thell3agency.com. THEL3agency.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.